faminta por sangue. Uma sombra cresce na parede atrás de vocês, encobrindo vocês na escuridão. E está quase aqui.
O que é? Mas e se for o Demogorgon?
First episode begins at a government laboratory that is also located within this small town, and things seem to have gotten out of hand as some sort of monster is on the loose inside the building. So we are immediately introduced to the supernatural aspect of this story. Next, we meet the boys that the story centers around: Dustin, Lucas, Mike, and Will. They enjoy playing Dungeons and Dragons. One night after playing, the boys take off and go their separate ways. Will rides his bike through the woods, passing by Hawkins' laboratory. He ends up having a run-in with the monster that seems to have escaped from the government facility and vanishes without a trace. After people notice Will's disappearance, his mom and his friends begin to look for him. Project was a series of secret United States government projects conducted at Camp Hero. It was secretly developing a powerful psychological war weapon. The Montauk Project is a continuation of the controversial Philadelphia experiment, which took place around October 28, 1943. A report was prepared and presented to Congress and was soundly rejected as far too dangerous. So a proposal was made directly to the Department of Defense promising a powerful new weapon that can drive an enemy insane, inducing the symptoms of schizophrenia at the touch of a button. Without congressional approval, the project would have to be top secret and secretly funded. The Department of Defense approved. The U.S. Air Force had a decommissioned base at Montauk, New York. This site was large and remote, and water access would allow equipment to be moved in and out undetected. Equipment was moved to Camp Hero at the Montauk base in the late 60s and installed in an underground bunker beneath the base. According to researchers, to mask the nature of the project, the site was closed in 1969 and donated as a wildlife refuge, with the provision that everything underground would remain the property of the Air Force. Although in reality, the base remained open until the 1980s. Many dedicated researchers claim that the experiments became fully active in the early 1980s. Between the Philadelphia experiment in the 1940s and the Montauk Project in the 1980s, numerous trials were conducted to do with telekinesis, teleportation, remote viewing, time travel, and of course, MK-Ultra mind control. One of the human test subjects with psychic abilities has also escaped the research lab. During a night when the boys were out looking for Will, they stumbled upon this test subject, which happens to be a young girl that doesn't talk with the number 11 tattooed on her arm. So they just call her 11, or L for short. The boys, especially Mike, start getting to know L. During the process, she has multiple flashbacks of being in the Hawkins laboratory, where her psychic abilities were exploited, and that's what caused the rip in dimensions that allowed the demonic entity into our world.
Ela era parte de algum estudo na faculdade.
MK Ultra?
É, esse aí. Ele começou nos anos 50. Quando a Terry se envolveu, era pra ele já ter diminuído. Mas aí as drogas ficaram mais fortes. Isso ferrou bonito com ela.
E era a CIA que cuidava disso?
Eles pagavam uns $200 para pessoas, como a minha irmã. Davam drogas para ela, psicodélicos, LSD principalmente. E aí eles tiravam a roupa dela e colocavam ela nos tanques de isolamento.
Tanques de isolamento?
É, eram umas banheiras gigantes, cheias de água salgada, que você flutuava e perdia qualquer noção de qualquer coisa. E você não sentia nada, não via nada. Eles queriam expandir os limites da mente. A questão é que ela não sabia que ela estava grávida naquela época.
Thousands of government-sponsored experiments did take place at hospitals, universities, and military bases around our nation. Some were unethical, not only by today's standards, but by the standards of the time in which they were conducted.
Okay, when you take a personality and you fragment it into pieces, they take one of the pieces and then they develop it into a sub-personality or a related personality, which is a little different than the core personality, and then they provide a code that triggers that personality to come forward and take control of the body. They were programmers, not handlers or controllers, but programmers who would only come into the room after I had been sedated, drugged, beaten. I was pretty much immobile, just laying there on the table fastened down, and then the programmers would come in. Then they would put the lights over the table, then they would fasten things to different parts of my body, particularly my head area. I think that was a form of dissociation, and that's what they wanted. They wanted you to dissociate, fracture the mind. That's how the programming begins.
I did see a couple of their sessions. It was disgusting, made me sick.
The amazing things that they could think of to create fear, anxiety, and fracturing, I don't know how human beings could even think of such things, but they did. Definitely, I did see people die. I saw animals being murdered. I saw people being murdered. I saw rapes of all kinds. And I suppose the idea was to desensitize from those things, so that if you were programmed to do any of that, it wouldn't make you feel it one way or another. It would be completely neutral to you because you'd been so downloaded with this for so many times, it was no more different than washing your hands. Using children was extremely important because they were innocent and they had extreme fear.